Right. Good morning, everyone. So we actually have today with us Mr. Gene Kwok, who is the founder and also CEO for Damnzai Private Limited. So Damnzai is actually a digital marketing firm, and they are also the official marketing agency for this event and initiative that you are attending today. So before we move on for Jean to actually, conduct this masterclass for everyone, I would actually like to encourage everyone over here to participate in our poll today. So later on, in the next 2 to 3 minutes, we will actually create a poll for everyone to participate in. So what happens when you actually participate in this poll? You will be actually eligible for a $15 Grab voucher at the end of the session. So how to be eligible for that? When you participate in the poll, all the participants of the poll questions will be put into a lucky draw system, and there will be one winner of this Grab voucher. So without further ado, I will pass the session over to our speaker today, Mr. Gene Kwok. Gene, over to you.
Hello. Hi. Thanks, Christine. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the SYEA Masterclass series, and in particularly to be here to listen to this webinar that we'll be doing, which is making your marketing count: what works, what doesn't. So maybe to start off, I just wanted to give a little bit of background. I was thinking about what is the topic that I like to go through today. When Steve asked me to, do a webinar, the first thing I asked him is, who are the people that's going to be listening to the webinar? Because I wanted to make sure that the content will be, something that's relevant, and in the shortest time that we have, in the limited time we have, deliver the most value that I can. So he said that most of the participants are going to be young entrepreneurs, and some of you are going to be, there are some marketers that have joined, have signed up for the class. So how I'm going to really conduct this is at the beginning, I'm just going to kind of like set the stage, and I want to go through a little bit about the principles and the background of, the whole thing. And then towards the end, it's a little bit more, I will share more of our case studies, or I can share some of some of the creatives that we've done, and you feel free to discuss, give your suggestions, or we can discuss a little bit more, right? Okay. All right. I think the first thing, because our topic today is about digital marketing specifically, but I wanted to, start off from a more macro level. The first question that I want to ask is, the first thing we should be thinking about is, what is marketing? So what really is marketing? Well, HubSpot describes it as basically any action that a company takes to attract an audience to the company's products and services through high quality messaging, right? And marketing aims to deliver standalone value for prospects and consumers through content, with the long-term goal of demonstrating product value and strengthening brand loyalty, ultimately increasing sales. So very idealistic in a sense, right? And Wikipedia, well, go to search, or Google basically, it says it much more simply. Marketing refers to activities a company undertakes to promote the buying and selling of its products, services, and goods. So in a nutshell, right, the objective of marketing is basically to get your brand and get your products and services to a larger audience, and hopefully, bring them in as customers and deliver sales. So that's marketing in a nutshell. So I know that this is very, very basic, and it's kind of like, you might be wondering, why are you talking about this? We all know this, and it's like very rudimentary, but I wanted to really, emphasize this, because this is going to be the core of what I'm going to be talking about. In essence, effective marketing is delivering a message to an audience and then get them to take an action. Okay, so this is essentially the core of effective marketing. All right, it might seem very rudimentary, but when I go along, you kind of get like why I'm going through this. Okay. So first of all, now that we know that marketing is basically, it's basically getting more people to know about your products and services, bringing awareness and all that, and trying to deliver sales. So what are some of the options we have? Let's look at the traditional options. In the past, when we had a product or service that we wanted to publicize, we could use newspapers, we could advertise in the magazines, flyers, direct mail, radio, billboards, or product placement. Product placement and sponsorship is, this kind of like, you still see it today. It's still very useful. For example, a well-known example is it costs, American Idol $1 million to put the cup, the Coca-Cola cup on the judges' table at American Idol, and so things like that, product placement, right? But the essence of all of it, if you look at it, is still the same, which is, to deliver a message to an audience to get them to take an action. The only question is which medium you would choose and what to use, right? And then in the new age, it's getting more and more complicated, right? Nowadays, we have to have a website. Everyone says you need to have a good website, right? With a good copy, with converting copy or landing page. You need to have SEO done for your website. You should be doing influencer marketing. So if you're a business owner, because we work a lot with a lot of business owners, and I also own another business myself. So if you're a business owner, this is gonna be what you're thinking about. What should I do first? You have website, you have SEO, you have influencers. Maybe we should get some influencer, to do our marketing. Maybe we should do email marketing. Maybe we should do this podcasting, right? Including in the marketing of SYEA, when we were thinking of marketing SYEA, I think that a lot of these ideas came out. What should we be doing first, or should we be doing all of them, right? And in terms, and then there's also blogging, and then now video marketing, right? And then you have all your social media platforms coming up. It was used to be Facebook and Google, and now you have like YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Telegram, Twitter, TikTok, and then the latest one is Clubhouse, right? So every other month or every other couple of months, something else comes up, and it's like the new in thing, and people are wondering, should we be coming on board to do marketing? And if you're a business owner or entrepreneur, or especially if you're small and starting up, even if you're at a significant scale, or even if you're for professional marketers, right, it can get very confusing. It can get very overwhelming, because in an ideal world, we will want our products and services to be known everywhere. But with our limited time and resources, there's so many choices. So what should we prioritize? And I think that is the question that you want to have answered today. What really works, and what is going to really drive me results, sales, growth, leads, customers, and the rest of that, right? So I think that is the question that is on your mind, and I suppose it's the question on every business owner's mind. What should I be? I have so many options in front of me, and so many people are reaching out to me to do different things. What should I be doing for if I really want to make the best bang for buck and get results? Okay, so of course that Damnzai, our agency, focus on digital. We are a digital agency, and you obviously know that I'm going to talk about it, but quite fairly later I will go through. Actually, I mean, to be honest, to be fair, there is a place for everything. There's a place for every medium, including your PR, your television, your billboards. All of this, they come together as pieces of a puzzle. But supposing you had the ability to of your big brand like Coca-Cola or Nike or something, you can be everywhere. But if you have limited time, resources, energy, where should you focus your time and effort on? I think so this is what I really wanted to explain today, the concept behind that. Okay, so first of all, I thought I just introduce a client of ours, and in fact, the developer of this app is also a speaker today. I think he'll be speaking later in another session. But anyway, Ulo, for some of you, you might have seen some of the Ulo ads, or you might have used the app, or you might have read about it on Vulcan posts. Basically, Ulo is an app that offers time-based discounts for customers. So it's something like your Eatigo, where if you go to a restaurant during off-peak hours, you can get a very good discount. So, but the only difference is that this works for the beauty industry. So you want to get your nails done, you want to get your hair done, facial, spa, massage, you go in an off-peak hours, because those hours are the hours that are not very utilized, right? So this app kind of solves that for the merchants. People can book through the app, and go somewhere near, and then they get a discount. So the story of this client and this app was, basically they were referred to us by another client. And when I first met the founder, he shared with me that he has already been working with a social media agency for about 9 months, and then they stopped at that point. They were doing a lot. They had a very nicely designed website. They had very well designed collaterals. The concept of the app was good. The UX I felt was good. Product was good, right? And they did a lot of like social media posting. So they created a lot of very nicely done posts, very well thought out, and they started posting, right? So at the end of 9 months, they managed to gather more than 1,000 followers, but they had very little downloads because it's an app, right? So the objective is to get an app download and get users to use the app. A lot of followers, but very little downloads. And basically, that was kind of like the stage that it was at. And Samuel, the founder, shared with me that it's that experience is like he's still considering whether or not to continue to do digital marketing. Okay, so okay, I share this with you not to kind of like talk about our company's results and all that. I'm not going to focus that much on it. In fact, I'm not even going to be introducing so much of what we do, but I just want to use this to kind of explain the concept, right? So in month 1 that we started working with them, we were able to grow more users than the first 9 months combined. Okay. And then we started to see regular bookings and traffic from customers and users. So of course, right? And the app made its debut on the trending app list for lifestyle category and Play Store. So on Play Store, most of those apps that are trending are kind of like the million users kind, if you've scrolled around, and this app appeared on the trending list, right? So in 3 months, we achieved 7,000 new users, and we started to see a lot of regular bookings. The whole thing started to move, right? And this little part here is just a little kind of little testimonial from Samuel. Okay, but anyway, the concept of this, just a little bit. I think if you're watching this, try to consider in your mind what could have been the thing that we did, or the little shift that anybody could have done. Actually, the little shift in ideology. Think about the phrase that I used earlier, that golden line. Marketing is reaching out to the audience with the right messaging and getting them to take action, right? So think about this, and okay, just keep it in the back of your mind. And then I'm just going to go through another example. So this other one I'm going to talk about is a little bit of a story. So this is a few years, something that happens a few years ago, when I was still in my previous company. I have that was quite a number of years ago. I have not started the agency yet. I was still in my previous company. And at the time we were like in a sales kind of like role. And so very sales driven. And my boss felt that among our team, like I'm the most, social media savvy. And I kind of like, and everybody's talking about digital marketing, social media, right? It's like the buzzword. Starting from back then all the way until now, it's still a very big buzzword. Like every company, they will be talking about, we should be doing some kind of digital marketing. We should be getting leads. We should be doing this, right? And so at the time, my boss asked me to do a training for my colleagues. And I planned a very thorough training. I did my research and attended a little bit of a course and created slides, something like this, right? So I created slides and then was really, I shared with them. So some of the advice that I gave them, if you, which also could be something that you hear very often, whether you are a business owner or a digital marketer or even a professional marketer. This is some of the things that you may be going through, right? Which is you go for a course and they will tell you something like, you need to post very regularly. You need to make sure it's consistent, right? You need to post best twice or thrice a day. Second thing, it takes time. As long as you're consistently posting, eventually people will get to find out about you, and people will, start to buy your stuff, right? Do the research, write high quality content, deliver value. It's very aspirational, it sounds correct. And to some extent, it is correct to some extent. Or even things like don't always post about work, mix it up with some fun posts, create some interesting designs, use Canva, do something like Merry Christmas, or like all your different interesting posts, right? And then you're just posting, and then get your friends and family. This one, which is something very common, is like you post something on your Instagram or your Facebook, especially in a company, especially for small businesses, or even if you have a KPI to hit as a marketer, right? Then you kind of like get everybody to kind of, hey, come and help me to like my post, help me to share among other people and all that, right? So this is something that is very common, and I kind of like want to share this example specifically. So basically, the funny thing is, after I did this training for my colleagues, everybody was very hyped up, and they all went ahead and, okay, I'm going to create my Facebook page. I'm going to do this. We're going to start to do posting and all that. So the interesting thing is, like, after that, of course, I grew and went to different roles, and I left and eventually took another role, and then eventually started my own agency. And just out of curiosity, I actually went back to take a look at the page that my colleague created at the time. And I realized that it's been, years, right? And my colleague is still following my advice at the time, which is posting regularly, posting design, little content here and there, still doing the work, right? But when I scroll down, I see, like, you only see a few likes, 3 or 4 likes, or 1 like, or even 0. And you see very little comments. It's like there's no response, right? So you've been very diligently doing it, but there's no response. Okay. And it's just like you feel a bit lost at that, right? So what's next, and why is that not working? Okay, if you have this experience, I think a lot of people, because I used to be in that position, if you've not heard of what I'm going to share later, in the comments, could you just say a little bit, or if you know the reason why, like, why not? If you have a why not, right? Why like that? If you kind of like, if you can guess the answer, and why not just share in the comments? I want to see if what the thought process is, in the right place so far. Yeah, you feel free. I mean, anybody. Why do you think that, my colleague? Okay, why do you think, first of all, what's the thing that you think we did differently for Ulo that made all the difference, despite all the efforts before that, with influences and all that? The second one is, why? What do you think? I mean, why do you think, despite the time and effort in my kind of like with my colleagues, spending that much time after years, right? The results were still very minimal. So what do you think is the key to all of this? Christine, is there some way I can see, is there anything that is, you have to put in the session chat, by the way, not if you're organic versus paid. Yeah, I mean, it's a marketer, so, right? Organic versus paid. Anyone else want to give it a little go? If not, I'll just tell you the answer. Okay. So the key problem here is, if we go back to the golden mantra that I said, marketing is delivering the right message to an audience to get them to take an action. The key problem in most cases is the lack of audience. In other words, a lot of people have the impression that when you create a Facebook or Instagram, automatically you will gain an audience. There is a chance of that happening, but it's very, very slim. Provided you created some kind of viral content, that everybody's sharing, and it just like scales up from there. Okay, and basically, if you look at this chart, organic reach in Facebook in Asia Pacific particularly is dropping. So why is this? Some people say Facebook is a conspiracy. They want us to spend money on paid ads, right? It's not exactly that, but in a sense, like when Facebook first started, we all had maybe 50 friends, 100 friends. So when we scroll our newsfeed, we can see everything that has been written, right? So imagine now we have probably 1,000 friends. Some people have like 2,000 or 5,000, which is the max, right? Or maybe even a couple hundred at the minimum. So there's simply too much content that is happening on Facebook and Instagram. So what happens is Facebook will kind of like, they'll kind of prioritize what is the right content that you like to see. So the more you interact with a person, for example, let's say in this case, if Christine is my best friend and I'm always commenting on her posts, liking her posts. So Facebook will kind of like, judge it as Christine is your something that Christine is close to you and you're close to Christine. It's a relationship, right? So every time Christine posts, it will appear on the top of my Insta story or Instagram or Facebook, right? But the random brands that I follow or just like once and all that, the affinity score is very low. So most likely I will not get to see it. And what this organic reach here means is that, let's say at this point it's 1.2%. It means that on average, if you have 10,000 likes or followers and you post a post, only 1.2%, which is only 100 people of that 10,000 followers on average will get to see that post, right? And one, like earlier in the common mistake that I said, a lot of people, you like to get your friends or colleagues just to hit a KPI or, just to get some momentum and encouragement, get everybody, or, to kind of like and share your own post, right? So what that happens, it becomes kind of like a vicious cycle. You end up you keep seeing your own post, and your friends are seeing your post, but nobody else is seeing your post. So those 1.2% or 2% or 3% ends up being your own internal circle. You know what I mean? So I often describe it as, you can spend a lot of time designing something, creating the best content, shooting a really, really good video. But if you're doing that, it's like you're creating a really, really good poster, and then you're just kind of like pasting it in your own office. And then everybody is, going there and say, wow, this is a good poster. I like it. But it doesn't solve the problem, because this is not being seen by people that you want to see it, and it's not being seen by new audiences. The key thing is new audiences. Maybe it is still being seen by some of your existing customers, right? Or your best customers, people who like your brand enough to interact a lot with your content. But the key thing is, I think one of the obstacles that a lot of people are wondering is, how can I get more customers, right? New customers, to expand my funnel, to really get new audiences. So that is the key question. So when I talk about earlier I talked about this, I call it the mantra, right? Delivering a message to an audience and get them to take an action. In this case, the thing that's lacking is an audience. The same thing for Ulo. Ulo had, they created very nice content, very nice photos, and then they started to do a lot of Instagram, which, if you have a lot of existing followers already, maybe that helps. But if you are starting from a very small number, it is a bit like your resources are not spent in the right way, because there's nobody looking at all this good work that you're doing. In fact, it might make more sense if you had a very plain and ugly piece of work, like a PowerPoint like this, that is very skimpily done, and you get a lot of people to see it. The odds of you getting a good customer from that is a lot higher than if you had a very good design, a very good video, but nobody sees it, right? So audience is key. It's always important to have an audience. If possible, the bigger the audience, the better. But of course, the next stage is also the more targeted the audience, the better. So, but at the very basic, at the very least, you need to have a good message to a good audience. So that's the key thing about marketing, and something that I think surprisingly, I've a lot of business owners and all that, they're not really aware of this, and they kind of invest a lot of efforts into creating very good designs, very good content, which is, I understand that, but if nobody's seeing it, then it doesn't work. Okay. So now that we know we need a big audience, right, and we want to get our brand to a big audience, right, and everybody, usually a social media presentation will start with Facebook has 3.4 billion users and this and that, TikTok has how many users, but those users are not looking at our our kind of posts, right? So, but at the end of the day, if we really want to talk about it in terms of traditional media and digital media, I think a photo speaks a thousand words, right? So, I mean, love to SMRT, but in a sense, in the old ad placements here that you could do is, I mean, the prices are still around, they've dropped, but they're still there. So the question is, do you want your ad to be on the screen that everybody's looking at these screens nowadays somewhere, or do you want your ad, or you want your product and services to be somewhere where there's a chance for people to take a look, but likely not, right? So this is something, right? Okay. The trend has been picked up by global players. So if you look at this chart here, this is talking about the global ad spend that is in the world. So basically, the global ad spend in digital ad spending has already in 2021 far exceeded this traditional media. When I say traditional media, I refer to all TV, all radio, all any form of print media and all forms of traditional media. The sheer amount of digital ad spend is huge. So in you can see over here, it's 435 billion, even in 2021, and about 50% of that goes to the big players, which is Facebook and Google. Facebook owns Instagram, WhatsApp. Google owns YouTube. So in essence, a duopoly between these two. They own 50%. Of course, there are a lot of other little, digital ad spend options. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So which brings me to the key topic that I wanted to really go into now. So, I really wanted to set the stage, the importance of getting the right audience, and if you were to be kind of deciding between different options, what could be the key factor that will influence? So again, if you go back to the traditional media, or you go back to the chart that I shared earlier about all the options of media, I'm not saying that the only way you can market is using advertising or programmatic advertising. You can market in any way you want, but as a marketer or as a business owner, if you're kind of tight for choice, go back to the principles, which is, what is the message that I want to bring? Okay, so what kind of medium, and where can I get this audience? Certain platforms still have a quite a healthy organic audience. For example, TikTok has quite a healthy organic audience, provided you understand the algorithm. So there's no kind of like fixed answer to that, but understanding the principle will help you make better decisions in deciding your how to allocate your marketing budget and how to get the best results for your resources. Okay, so programmatic advertising. What is programmatic advertising? I describe it as smarter, faster, more efficient. So to understand this, it's quite a a mouthful, but basically for traditional ad buying is kind of like, you see certain banners, you see certain billboards. Just imagine you see a newspaper, right? And there are ad spaces on these places. You go to Chinatown, right? Chinatown Point, you see that big video ad space there. That is an ad space. Traditional ad buying is like, okay, if I'm a marketer and I have 50,000 ad budget, right? And then or 100,000 ad budget, I will say, I want to buy, based on, I think this is strategic location, I think this is good, so I'm gonna spend 5,000 to buy this, ad space for a month or a week, something like that, right? Or TV spots and radio spots. So that is kind of like a manual way of ad buying. Programmatic comes from the word program and automatic. So digital advertising is moving more towards programmatic, which is basically whenever you go to any website in Facebook, Instagram, you're on TikTok, or you are on, even when you go to see some blogs, like, you see this Business Insider, you see the Miss Tam Chia, you see this, you see a lot of ad spaces everywhere, right? But nobody goes to them and kind of say that, okay, I'm going to bid for your ad space and I want to get, I'm going to buy your ad space for maybe $1,000 or $500, or I want to show my ad here. That is the traditional way, even in digital, when it first started. Programmatic is kind of like the all these ad spaces are kind of like already in a network that is curated. Okay, so just imagine that every time you open a web page, it already in a split microsecond knows that there are 3 kind of ad slots there. And in the back end, the system kind of they bid for the ad space real time. So in the back end, for example, if I were to set a certain ad budget in the Google ad platform or Facebook ad platform, in that split second, right, there could be various advertisers competing for that slot. For example, if let's say Christine is somebody who is, we know that is interested in spa, right, and beauty, and and so I could be targeting Christine, and another spa, or maybe, I don't know, like a skincare brand could be targeting Christine. So at that split second, the bid in the back end will kind of automate and to compete for Christine, which is, by the way, I know that it's kind of like, if you're not it's kind of a little bit wild concept. It's already identified Christine as the person that we are trying to go for. This person is interested in this. So a few advertisers could be competing for that slot. And in that split second, the microsecond, it will decide based on the bid which advertisement to show. Okay, so that is generally what programmatics is. Programmatics could be the ad in your apps. When you use your alarm clock app, when you download free apps, they're always, you wonder how do they monetize, how do they maintain it? There are ads, right? So that is a programmatic placement. You go to Business Insider, you see at the sidebar, you see at the bottom bar, those are programmatic placements. You go to Facebook, you scroll, you see those sponsored, those are also programmatic placements. So programmatic it's not just Facebook, it's not just Google. There are lots of different programmatic placements, right? But the common ones that are being used are Facebook and Google and now to some other platforms. But that is the concept of programmatics. Okay, so it is. So the advantage of this approach, of marketing is what is programmatic? Firstly, the ability to reach a very significant and very hyper-targeted audience very quickly. Okay, so like I talk about it, you have the best website, you invest a lot of money, create the best website, but if nobody sees it, it's like, it's kind of like I have to describe it, to emphasize, it's like you go and open a kind of like a store in some very, very weird and ulu kind of mall that nobody goes to, and then you spend a lot of money on renovation, doing it very nicely, but nobody sees it anyway, right? Versus even if your thing is kind of, half, it's not that done well, but this is a very prime location. Traditional business owners will know this. Locations, everything. Why? Because of footfall, and the concept is the same. Traffic is very important, right? And therefore, the ability to reach a significant hyper-target audience very, very quickly. Like if I run an ad now and I have a big budget, I can even roll it out in maybe a couple of days. And the kind of audiences that you can target, is you can target by demographics, you can target by special events. For example, some people may not know this, you can target by having a wedding anniversary soon. You can target by having a close friends whose birthday is happening soon. These are very powerful targeting options. You just imagine the kind of things that you could do if you were able to reach these people at the right time. With knowing that this is the kind of audience that you can get. And then interests, behaviors, affinities, and trends. And affinity and trends are what I talked about earlier. Behaviors are your online behaviors. So for example, there are some people who love to like things, right? Like, on Facebook, everything I see, I scroll, I like, but I don't ever buy anything online. So those are engagers. So when we run an engagement objective, we get a lot of engagers, but they might not be the people that you want, because you get a lot of people, liking it, but they're not buying it. The conversion focus is where you reach the audiences that are most likely to spend money. That means in the past, they have clicked on the ad and spent money in the last 30 days. They click on the ad and sign up for something in the last 30 days. These are kind of like the people with that kind of behavioral pattern. So they are most likely to, react to your messaging, right? And then of course you got to lap it with, you can do geographic, you can do age, and you can also do interest. And one common misconception about interest is that is like, which I often get asked, in the sense like, oh, my Facebook is very private, I don't post anything, and I don't like any page. I just use it to browse, or or maybe I don't put my likes lah, or I don't put I don't put my occupation, I don't put my I don't put much details on Facebook. So this programmatic will not work on me, for example, right? So this is a very common misconception. But actually, how Facebook kind of defines your interest is not based on your declarations. It's way beyond that. In the past, it used to be like when you sign up for an account, oh, I'm interested in wellness, I'm interested in sports, show me this. Then they will kind of show you that content, right? But now it's way beyond that. It's very intelligent. So for example, every time you create a page, you tag it as something, right? And then, imagine these people, another page. So for example, you are a gym, okay, and you've never run any, any kind of ads or anything before, but another gym has run ads before, and it's marked because the page is a gym, and the affinity score is there. So when somebody interacts with that gym ad in the last 30 days, and depending on how frequent they, like when they see something, they interact with it, the data will kind of accumulate, and they will say, okay, this person is somebody that's interested in something like this, a service like this, a product like this. You don't even have to declare or tell them that, oh, I'm interested in this and that. No, it is all done in the back, and that's what makes it so powerful. But it also makes it very frightening to some extent. We always say, you talk to your friend about buying furniture, and then the next thing you know, you see a furniture ad, right? How does that happen? So it's all big data. It's all predictive behaviors. It's all programmatics. Okay. The second key thing about this approach, the key advantage of it, is that it is measurable and trackable to the pennies and dimes, right? Measurable. So if I were to say publish my, do a blog post, okay, or even I say to even the traditional, I would say I publish a newspaper ad, I publish a magazine ad, I publish a TV ad. I can only kind of gauge because they will tell you, okay, our average viewership is this, and the way that viewership is being mentioned, being calculated, is also very subjective. For example, you could be seeing this video for 3 seconds or 5 a while, and then you switch to another channel, but because you've logged into this channel, it counts you as a viewer, right? And you might not be actually seeing that ad spot. So it's very hard to really go down to the pennies and dimes. But when you are doing programmatics, it is very, very specific, okay? And a byproduct of that is very, very useful is that it provides extremely valuable data in the process. So for example, like earlier I was sharing about our clients, like certain app clients we have, we could probably tell them, how much time your user is spending on your app. How much time are they spending on this page? How much time they're spending on that page? How many people are clicking on this button versus that button? So down to that specific information, which will be very useful in helping you improve your UX, very useful in helping you improve your product, right? And you'll be able to see that in a sense the customer journey. For example, what we do is for many e-commerce brands that we market for, when we run the ads, we'll be able to kind of like understand, okay, so this product that we're trying to promote, we have various different kind of targeting. Which audience resonates the best with the product? It's useful because it helps them. We have clients who are also doing a lot of television advertising, doing a lot of bigger advertising, right? But with this data, it will help them to sharpen their message in the television advertising because they know that, okay, this is what people are interested in, right? Through this smaller like digital programmatics, right? And we can even see, for example, okay, a lot of people are clicking on the ad, but they're stopping at the add to cart page. They are not adding to cart. So what could be the problem? We have to diagnose. Maybe the button is not that prominent. Maybe the page loading is too slow. Maybe there's some uncertainty. Or when you add to cart and then after that you don't see a checkout, what could be the problem? Procrastination, no urgency. Should we add some scarcity promo code or something like that? Should we, maybe kind of, improve the copy on the product page? So there are many little things that you can observe through the data when you as a byproduct. But in fact, this byproduct is very valuable sometimes to some brands and especially tech kind of businesses, could be even more valuable than the initial marketing exposure themselves. So all these insights you'll be able to gain from programmatics. Okay. The third one is that the third benefit is extremely fast and great for testing. You can try different variations. So, okay, the reason I'm going through the benefits, I want kind of like to say, in a sense, when you're thinking about your marketing efforts, consider all these things and see, what are the advantages versus the pros and cons, and see what are the best ways, you can kind of plan your marketing, right? So one thing about programmatic is extremely fast, great for testing, try different variations. So for example, you and your team, you feel that this design is good. I think that our ad should be like this. We should write like this. And then your colleague feels differently, say that, or your staff feels differently. No, I think our customer don't like this. Our customer likes this. So what happens? If you're advertising in a magazine, for example, what happens? They will say, okay, the next issue is going to be published this. By this date, you need to give me, your copy. You need to give me your information and your photograph. Our editor will edit it, and then you approve it. After that, we're going to launch it, right? So there's always a deadline to publish, and then after that, by when, and then you're going to publish it, and how long it's going to be there for, right? And then you can, you only have one chance, because like let's say you're publishing, you cannot be publishing, like you tell 8 days, I want 50% of the magazine to show this, 10% to show this, 10%, like I want to do it, and you wouldn't be able to see the results anyway, so from testing. So by programmatics, you can run multiple ads at the same time. You can launch it just like that very quickly. You can test, which is also great for testing ideas. For example, if you have a certain product that you want to kind of like give it a trial run to see, you want to do a pricing test, see what kind of pricing people will buy it at. You want to do a interest test. You want to roll a new product, but you don't want to invest so much in it yet. You want to roll a new service, but you don't want to invest so much in it yet. What do? Run an ad, a small budget, give it a test, see the response, decide. So that is how, it's in a sense, you can use it aside from the main marketing tools, right? Okay, I think I went a little bit deep, so I need to speed up. Okay, and then the fourth one, the ability to remarket specifically and even customize our message at each stage. So the rule of 7 is a traditional rule that, for somebody to be influenced to buy our product and services in advertising, they have to see this ad, or they have to see a kind of like the brand 7 times before they remember it and it affects their decision. This is in traditional advertising, and it's very applicable, rule of 7. But you imagine if you are doing like kind of like TV, radio, and all that kind of like traditional media, or even like blogs and all that. What is the odds, right, of you exposing your brand to the client or the customer or the prospect 7 times? It's not very high unless you're spending tons of money. For them to happen to see on TV, happen to see you on the way to work, happen to see, you're going to spend tons of money to do that, right? For your brand to appear everywhere. But with programmatics, you can specifically target people who have already reacted to some extent to your ad. For example, they've watched 50% of that video. Then you target them. So you are concentrating that spend on the ad set on these group of people. And you're not wasting that, on others. So these group of people, they keep seeing your ads on different ways, in an omni-channel kind of approach, which creates that kind of brand presence for your brand, creates that kind of credibility. For example, just imagine you see an ad, okay? It's just a introduction ad, maybe a certain kind of a skincare. Oh, this skincare is okay, organic and all that. After that, you the next day you go on Instagram, you see a testimonial, which is also an ad, by the way, but it's a testimonial style, user generated. Like somebody says, oh, I used this, I loved it, it was really good, kind of thing. And this unboxing video, user experience, right? Then another day you see another ad on, it might not be on, it could be even be your alarm clock. When you wake up, you have a free alarm clock app, and then there's an ad there. Then you see that brand again, and then you go, your friend sends you a link on WhatsApp, you click on it, you see, your article about the Prince Harry, and some article about what's happening, and then you scroll, hey, your ad appears there again. So you might be wondering, oh my gosh, like this company is huge. I mean, how are they doing this? They are spending tons of money on everywhere. Not necessarily. It could be very specific retargeting. So only these people are seeing the ads. In a higher level at that, you can control the messaging very specifically. When they are not our customer yet, show them this ad. After they've add to cart, but they've not checked out, show them a promo code ad. Hey, we are having promo, but normal people can't see it, and then after they've checked out, after they become a customer, send them a like a kind of like a founder. You can do a founder ad. Thank you for buying our product. It strengthens the relationship with the customer. There are many ways you can use these tools. In a lot of ways, if you know how to piece them together. Okay, it's only limited by your creativity. All right, the fifth one is the convenience and lower resistance in taking action. So we all know that there's so many things calling for attention nowadays. You have to make it very, very easy for somebody to take an action. So when you see an ad on a programmatic platform, usually there's a call to action button that's very prominent: shop now, buy now, sign up, something like that. It's very direct. Versus if you were to do certain kind of, like, let's say a magazine or TV or radio or certain things, you put in your contact number. When was the last time you saw a TV ad and then you're like, okay, I want to call this number now? I mean, it happens lah, but it's not. It's the resistance is there to get out from your couch to kind So it's always about lower resistance and convenience. So these are the five kind of like These are the 5 very powerful advantages for programmatic advertising. If you know how to use this, in a sense, you know how to play it right and put the right pieces together, you will have a very, very powerful marketing plan. Okay, so I think I know that you want to have the Q&A. I have a little bit more. I just want to quickly breeze through that. So back to the key, the sentence from right I talked about at the beginning: delivering a message to an audience and then get them to take an action. This is the basic. Now I'm going to expand on that level up. Okay, delivering a message that resonates to the right audience at the right time. You don't want to send a promo code to somebody who doesn't know your product, what your product is about. You want to send them things that will gradually build them to that level, right? And then get them to take a convenient action. Don't make it very hard for them. Don't put in your ad placement something like, if you're interested, please email me at this email address. Some people do that. Don't ever do that. It's just gonna waste that placement. Okay, so this part I'm just gonna quickly go. Earlier on I talked a little bit about the audience. So now I'm gonna talk a little bit about the message and action. Okay. So in a nutshell, this is very brief. I can show you a lot more examples later on and all that. But when creating the creative, okay, now that you know, in terms of audiences, these are your plans. These are what you're going to do, right? Your programmatic plan. This is how you're going to lay it out. The next thing is your creative, your copy, right? You have to get their attention within 2 or 3 seconds, because you can place your placements there, but when people are reading an article, when people are using their alarm clock, what is going to get their attention? It really depends. If they've never heard of your brand before, then something weird, something quirky, something loud. You can use space. You can put something that is very odd. It captures their attention. But if they've already engaged with your brand multiple times, then you want to strengthen your branding so that it's very obvious that it's a retarget. They don't know it's retargeting, but they see it repeatedly, and it persuades them that your brand is credible. Okay. A picture speaks it out. So these are some of the examples, right? These are some ads. So for example, a picture speaks. Why is dentistry important? Because even though he's missing the eyebrow, the first thing this is his smile. So yeah, he's missing an eyebrow. So it's a little bit, like food for thought. It kind of ads that make you think. You could also run ads that are a little bit think of the angle. For example, in this one, this was a Black Friday sale. I think it was a sale. Okay, I think the offer that they wanted to do is 20% off. But instead of doing 20% off, it's so common, right? Everybody's doing 20% off. How about we do something like a $1? The fifth item $1. Fifth item $1 is actually 20% off. It's the same thing, right? Because you have 5,000, the last one is $1, 1,000, so it's 20% off. So rephrase it and think of a way to get the angle to catch their attention first. All right. Sometimes you could use genuine photos. You don't have to do a lot of crazy editing. You can use photos to kind of like illustrate something. Okay, you have a lot of customizable options. Okay. Second, you have to have a message. Basically that resonates. So the headline. As we always say, copywriting is salesmanship in written. But the headline and the first 3 lines are the most important parts. Always test 5 headlines. Test 5 headlines. The headlines can make a break a ad placement. Okay, and always relate to your audience. Think like a layman. One common problem that we also see is that business owners who know their field very well, they tend to speak in a lingo that is very different from. So for example, if I were to run an ad about marketing, right, I wouldn't be doing this because I don't want to be so distracted, going too deep and all that, because it's just simply not going to catch their attention. You really got to think in their point of view, what do they want to know? Which is why I had the title. What in your point of view, probably what you want to know is, marketing, what works and what doesn't. That's what you want to know. If I were to title it like programmatic advertising, and this is like, it's just too much for a title. Wondering what is this all about, right? Okay, so quickly, these are some other examples. This is gym ad for gym that we did. When most people go to the gym, the only thing that's lighter is their wallets. And then when you go in, it's actually a long copy that talks about how this gym is different. We work with you. Our clients we like our clients to leave us. We don't want them to stay with us all the time. Things like that. Like most people go to the gym, the only thing that get lighter is their wallets. It's not effective. Okay, these are some. So ensure that the right message gets delivered to the right segment, different message to different segment, and can be very time sensitive. So if the last 14 days they've seen this, show them this. If not, show them something else. Okay. How to get the targeted audience. Okay, I'll get to that later in a while, Caroline. I think it's just what I mentioned a bit earlier about the programmatics. These are some of the settings that you can set. So call to act. The third thing is call to action. Take every opportunity to get your audience to say yes. Be specific on your call to action. Okay, make your call to action very simple and easy to do. Inquire or something like that. Don't try to make them do a very long thing. Oh, call this number and then quote this promo code and do this and do that to get this offer. Don't do that. It's not gonna work. Do something that's very low risk, very easy, very convenient, very painless. Okay, and as much as possible, you can make use of social proof and scarcity. Like how many people have signed up, how many days, things like that. Okay. Now, I think I'm a little bit going too short. Okay, so this is important, the value ladder. Don't try to promote all your services at one go when you're using something, especially if you're on a budget. Always, when you are doing a cold audience, start with the lowest hanging fruit, get them in, and then move them up the ladder. Okay. So once you have found a systematic way to continue letting a larger audience know about your products, there are always new audiences knowing about products. Okay, then you have a way to turn these core audiences into interested prospects. Oh, I want to find out more. Interested prospects into customers. They buy something from you at the first time, right? And then customers into long-term buys and advocates. That is when you can really scale. So for example, if you have a campaign, you spend $1,000 ad spend, you'll see like $5,000 in sales, $10,000 in sales, then you know that you can start to scale. You spend $5,000, it's predictable. You are able to kind of gauge it that way. So that's the beauty of it, right? So back to my, I want to conclude by re-emphasizing, when in doubt, it's as simple as marketing is delivering a message to an audience and getting them to take an action. Okay, yeah, that's all I have. I wanted to show you a little bit more of some of the ads that we have and so a lot of things that we've done, and to share creative, but I think we don't have enough time already. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any questions. Christine, are you here? What platform do you advise SMEs in SG to do programmatic advertising? The basic and most easy to use is Facebook. Then, of course, you can use Google Ad Placings. You can use YouTube. AI copywriting tools. What are your thoughts on AI copywriting? AI copywriting tools, to be honest, 1 year ago, I was very skeptical because I felt that there's no way an AI could, in a sense, do a creative, the art part of it. AI can do a scientific kind of, like marketing is a little bit of like half an art, half a science, right? Art is crafting the message. Science is the, all this data-driven kind of thing. I was 1 year ago, I would say I was very skeptical that AI could ever replace the art part of it. But right now, I mean, I stand corrected. I mean, there are some AI tools that have started to become very good. They can do your copywriting to some extent, provided you feed them with the right information, identifying the key points, but only to a certain extent. You have to really expand from there, and really think a little bit deeply, because one common thing is that problem that people face is like, for example, this furniture store, they can do all kinds of customization, 150 colors and that, but actually, in fact, every furniture store can do it. But because every furniture store can do it, they don't see it themselves as a unique selling point. They'll be like, everybody can do it. But the truth is, to a prospect, it might make a big difference. It might make the whole thing. It could make a big the whole offer, right? Are there any specific readings or books you would suggest that can really understand copywriting, hone our skills, and put your test? The best way to hone your skills is to run that, like I say, test. Do 3 different ads, 3 different copy tests, and then after that, analyze it and figure out what went right, what went wrong. For our clients, we basically, in our team, every week we go through the campaigns for all of our clients, each of our clients, and we evaluate the analytics in a very organized way. So for example, this is another very big topic, right? But if let's say you want to do that, you kind of like, you run different ads. Okay, you look at the impression, you look at the CTR. The CTR will kind of tell you, okay, that which ad is actually resonating better. If the CTR is poor, it's either the audience is not right, or the ad is not right. If the CTR is good, but there's a very few outbound clicks, it could be that ad is attractive, but only to that extent. And then there are many little things that you can evaluate to kind of improve on the funnel, and that is like the data side of it really, which is another very big kind of thing that you have to another big topic. Okay, so regarding specific readings, there's a lot. You can find a lot of information online actually these days, but a lot of it's theoretical. A lot of it is not that you have to really apply and try and test, or maybe if you can, like you hear from people who are doing it, spending quite a bit on programmatics and really truly understand how it works, then you'll be able to get those insights. Yeah, I think some of this, I mean, copywriting, there are a lot, if you ask me now, at the top of my head, I can't really, I mean, the marketer, traditionally, Neil Patel is one of the key ones. There is 3 minutes left for Q&A session. Okay. One minute left. So that means you really can't take any questions. So anyway, thanks everyone. If you have any more questions, we have a booth at the expo. Under the expo section, there is a booth, and I think we can have a little bit of dialogue there. If you want me to answer a little bit in depth, you want me to look specifically at what you're doing, we can talk later then. Okay. Thanks everyone for joining, and hopefully it helps you to see the bigger picture in how this works.
Yep. Thank you very much, Gene, for your insightful sharing today.